There is something special about water. Cool, hot, clear or sparkling. So fascinating. What if you could make a beautiful water effect with just 2 ingredients? And then one that's easy to do, of course. Let's just dive right in. Pun intended. My 2 main ingredients for creating water are alcohol ink, and I have regular alcohol ink and alcohol ink pearl, and glossy accents. And these 2 ingredients will make the perfect base for my water effect. And of course I need a base to put it on, so I'm going to use Grafix clear craft plastic. And this isn't just plastic or acetate, because you can also cut this craft plastic with dies and even with intricate ones, which gives you some really cool options. For my first background I'm going to start with the regular alcohol ink, and I add that to the craft plastic. And then I'm going to add glossy accents. I just hold the bottle a little over my craft plastic, making sort of a big zigzag motion while squeezing the bottle. Adding the glossy accents all over my plastic, but leaving the outside edges open. And then I'm going to add my alcohol ink pearls. So I added the first color in 3 strokes, so I'm going to add my second and my third color also in 3 strokes to fill up that space. I add the green ink on the previous colors and in between as well, to get a pretty mix and blend of colors. Then I come in with a lighter color regular alcohol ink to fill a bit of those gaps. And now the magic is about to happen, because I have a piece of plastic wrap or cling wrap or vershoutfolie, that's Dutch. So I just let that land on the alcohol ink, and then I just carefully press it on the alcohol and glossy accents mix. And then I'm also pulling it out sideways, so I get some nice pleats and lines in the plastic wrap. And then I have my first water base ready. So I'm going to put this aside and I quickly make another one, because this was really fun. Now I'm going to use some pink and purple colors. This is just regular alcohol ink, so I squirt on a bit of that glossy accents again, and also leaving the outside edges open. And then I'm going to add my colors. I started with the blue color, and then I'm adding my really bright pink. And I know I called this water effect, but you can go for any color, like the greenies, more ocean colors, but you can also go for purples and pinks. And don't ever let any color or color scheme that's real hold you back in creating, well, basically anything you want, or creating with colors that you love and like best. So I'm adding the plastic wrap again, and this is a really fun part because it feels interesting and funny. So it's a fun part, but it's also an important part to make sure that that glossy accent and alcohol mix stays put on your plastic. So once I'm done with this background, I'm going to put that aside to dry as well. And now we wait. Grab a drink, because it will take a while. And while we are waiting, it's a good time to mention I'm doing another collab with Tiffany Solorio, another lovely crafty friend. And she totally rocks at alcohol inks, and she's going to show you another cool way to use those inks. So make sure to stick until the end, so I can point you in the right direction. And now my backgrounds are almost dry. They are just a little bit squishy in the middle, if that's the good word. But along the outside, the plastic wrap is completely sealed to the craft plastic. So this will make sure that nothing can leak out. In the green one I also have some really pretty air bubbles, which even adds to the watery and bubbly effect. Also, the shimmer from the alcohol ink pearl gives it a subtle shine and sparkle, which makes it even cooler. And I think I like this one even better than the pink and purple one. And once the base is dry, you can cut off the plastic that is sticking out. And you can use the craft plastic as a guide. And now I'm going to work on my focal point. You may recognize her from a previous video, and I'm going to use some watercolors, and watercolors are really cool and fast and fun to work with. So I'm using the pearlescent watercolors, and these come with a dropper, making it really easy to add a little bit on your work surface or on the make art station like I'm doing here. I started with adding the red and the pink over the complete stamped image. I stamped it in black and then I heat embossed with clear embossing powder. And this way you can be sure that you won't get any smudges. Better safe than sorry, I say. I blot a bit and then I come in with the bluish green color on Around the eye the previous color is already a bit more dry, so there the color will layer a bit more, and in the wet part you will get a color blend. Then I blot it completely, and now I'm going to add a bit more of the different colors to create a somewhat deeper color here and there. And here's Sally after drying. She already has a nice shimmer going on. But I want her to sparkle a little bit more, so I'm going to add some details with Stickles glitter glue. I'm basically using the Stickles sort of like a pen, so I'm adding it in little corners and in places where you normally would add some shades, along the edges and along the places where the colors are a bit darker. And don't be afraid to add some of that glitter because Sally, well, she can handle it. And then I put her aside to dry. And once she's dry, I'm going to add some details with a white pen. This will help to accentuate some parts, as well as you can add some highlights to make parts pop, or add some shading and really make the design your own. So I'm done with Sally, and this is the part where it gets really interesting, because I have my green-blue background and I added that on a white card, which is really pretty. And then I added a pink-purple background on a white card, and that was really pretty as well. And then I took the blue-green background and added that on top of the pink. And that was something really interesting because I love that look. It's amazing, that texture and the color that shines through. It's really pretty. So I decided to go for a double layer water background. And then I was stuck. I had no idea how to move on. Yeah, that happens. And then I got a comment about the embossing powder I used from the last video. And the idea was sparked, so I grabbed my powder and went on. I already hand cut the frame that I wanted to add on top of my water, and I'm going to add some of the resist paste that I also used in the previous video. Besides that this paste resists, it's also sticky, so it's just perfect to add some embossing powder on. So I'm going to add the media embossing powder again with different sized particles and metallic bits in it. And once melted, it's really gorgeous. So I've added that to the frame, I've shaken off the excess, and then I'm going to melt it with the heat tool. And this gives you a sandy stone sort of finish, which is pretty, but it will also fit my water sea theme. And look at that texture that you can get very simple in one melt of the heat tool. So I've added tape to the back of the frame, and now I'm going to add my first layer on top with the craft plastic side down, so the plastic wrap side up. I've added some more tape on my first piece, and then I'm going to add the second piece in place. And finally I add a white panel to the back. To make sure that Sally fits with the frame even better, I'm going to add a bit of stickles around the edges. Just some tiny touches here and there in both colors. And I made sure that it was dry before I went on. I have some tape to the back of Sally, and now I'm going to add her in the water or on the water. And I also have a few pre-made clear drops, and this is another way you can use those that comes in very handy. You can check if you like them on your project. So I'm going to add a bunch of drops just straight on my plastic. And I'm also using a few of those pre-made drops. And it was evening again, so I put my card aside and let that dry overnight. And I went on with it the next morning. I've added it to a greenish kind of note card, and I printed the sentiment that I cut in pieces, and then I'm going to add that on my card. And as a finishing touch I outlined the sentiment with a really fine black pen. And this makes one fun card with lots of texture and most of the background still visible, which was my aim, but also with some added interest from fun details as well as the lovely Sally. Are you ready to create some colorful water? And while you're waiting for it to dry, make sure to hop on over to Tiffany's video. You can find it right here as well as in the description box below for more alcohol inspiration. So hop on over and say hi. She will love that. And as always, make sure to keep on crafting.